I'm Cherylanne Skolnicki, and this is Brilliant Balance, the show for working women who are ready to shine. Each week, I bring you ideas, inspiration, and insight on balance, business, and getting it all done gracefully. You ready? Let's be brilliant. This is episode 368 of the Brilliant Balance podcast. And today we're talking about why we get what we tolerate. So I want to set this up with a story about the temperature in my office. And really, I have to set the stage for this story going all the way back to 2016, which is when we moved into the house that I live in now. And in that year, I had to decide, where was I going to put my home office within this house? And I chose a room upstairs. So that was my first mistake. You can probably tell where this story is going. I chose a room upstairs. There's a fairly large house, one thermostat. This house was built with one thermostat on the main floor of the house. And if you have a house like this, we have a finished basement, we have the main floor, and then upstairs. The upstairs, super hot. The middle floor will be perfectly regulated to the temperature we want, and the basement will be like an ice chamber, right? So for someone like me I feel like I'm sensitive to temperature fluctuations, I was really frustrated by this. And so the first thing that we did was we installed ceiling fans in all of the upstairs rooms. So that was a first step solution, and it helped a little bit, right? We were able to crank up that ceiling fan to a higher speed and get some relief. And then I brought in, I think a year or two later, I was like, I don't know if this is enough. I brought in a little floor fan during the summer and set it kind of, near my desk. And that would help a little bit. But this year, I just had enough, because this year at one point, I looked around the office and I had added 4 incremental fans. I kid you not. There was the ceiling fan and 4 incremental, small fans positioned around the room, trying desperately to get the temperature in the room regulated to a level that I could function. And that somehow clicked my brain into a new gear where I told myself, something is up here, right? This is not normal to add this many levels of fans. Now let's skip the part where we talk about my internal temperature regulation, because clearly that's at play. But I was like, I cannot continue to do this. So back when we had first moved into the house, we had looked into, was it possible to install a second thermostat, right? Could we essentially split the HVAC system? And it is theoretically possible and very expensive. And we decided that was not a project that we wanted to pursue. But this year, when this reached a level of we're going to have to do something about this, my husband found on Amazon, of all places, something called a register booster. And this is the floor vent register that you have over where the air conditioning is coming into the room. It's a replacement for that includes kind of an incremental thermostat, right? You can set the gauge on that to say, I need this to deliver incremental cool air to this room. And y'all, in one day, we had solved this problem. All the fans got removed from the room. I literally turned off the ceiling fan. We just were able to change the temperature in this room, which we then quickly did in the other upstairs rooms as well. My son's room had been particularly hot, just all the time, chronically hot. Changed it overnight. Okay. Now, when I tell you this story, it is a little embarrassing because I wish I would have thought of this 8 years ago, right? I wish that in 2016, I would have been saying, boy, I bet there's a solution that we could install over the floor vent that would solve this problem. But I didn't. I kept kind of tolerating incremental levels of improvement. And over time, I started to tell myself, there's just nothing we can do about this, right? It's what I call a gravity problem, meaning you just can't solve it. You're just going to have to tolerate it. But the moral of the story is that there are so few problems that are actually gravity problems, and we treat too many of them like they are. Okay. So this is your invitation today to think about where in your life are you tolerating something because that feels easier than trying to fix or improve it, right? Or because you've convinced yourself that it's just an unsolvable problem, that there isn't anything that you can do. And I want to give you a little problem-solving methodology that we can apply to these things when we find them, right? That these may be minor annoyances in our households, or they might be areas of our lives that could be massively better, but we're not working to actively improve them. And I want you to start to imagine what's possible if you apply this framework. We really are by nature very adaptive people. We are great problem solvers by nature, but we have to pause long enough to give ourselves a chance to be problem solvers. And when we're so busy and so overloaded, we often don't give ourselves that time, right? We're just keep on keeping on. And because of that, we don't really give ourselves the chance to pause and think and really plot what could we do potentially as a way forward. So I want you to go on a little treasure hunt for these things you're tolerating. They are going to start popping up everywhere in your life when you start looking for them, right? What is something that you notice you've created an accommodation for? You're the equivalent of me with the 4 different floor fans, right? And you realize that is not normal. I am now doing something that's kind of wackadoodle to try to cover up this situation that I'm tolerating. And so the first step of the problem-solving methodology here is to expose the problem. You have to see it for what it is, which is, this is something in my life that I have grown so accustomed to that it now seems normal to me. But in actuality, it's something that I would like to be better. Okay. And I want you to look broadly. This could be things in your home, of course, like the example that I just gave. It could be something in your workplace, not just physically in your workplace. It could be a process in your workplace that you have grown accustomed to. It could be a behavior pattern that you have fallen into with your partner. It could be something that you're tolerating about your own behavior, right? Something that you're like, well, this is what I do now, and I'm just going to tolerate the result of it instead of changing that behavior to see if you can get a different outcome. And honestly, when you start looking for them, you are going to see them everywhere. So first step is to expose the problem. I would think about making a list. And when you build a new home and everything is kind of done, you're getting ready to move in, your builder gives you and your builder together create a punch list, right? The punch list is like, here's this list of little things that if we don't jot them down now, we're probably going to forget about them. They're going to become background noise, but we want to get these things handled before we sign off on the house. Think of this as your punch list, right? Your problem punch list. And you want to make a list of things that over time, you're going to be able to tick away at, right? You're going to be able to just solve probably quickly in most cases. Then when you have your list and you've exposed your problem, you're going to choose one to really examine the causes of. Okay, so expose the problem, examine the causes. This is, you may have heard me use the term before, to double click on the problem, to really give yourself a chance to look at, what do I think is going on here, right? What is the underlying situation that is causing me to not get the outcome that I want here? Hey, are you an entrepreneur looking to take your business to the next level? I want to introduce you to the Prosperity Playbook. This is your ultimate guide to building a more profitable and sustainable business. The Prosperity Playbook has been designed for business owners like you who are ready to transform their financial future. With step-by-step guidance, practical tools, and expert advice, you'll gain the confidence and control that you need to master your business finances. Just imagine having a clear roadmap to achieve your financial goals with insights that help you make smarter decisions and grow your business with ease. Whether you're just starting out or looking to scale, the Prosperity Playbook has got you covered. And here's the best part. As a Brilliant Balance listener, you can get lifetime access to the playbook for just $199. Unlock the secrets to financial success and join a whole community of empowered entrepreneurs. So don't wait. Visit theprosperityplaybook.com/brilliant balance. It's linked in the show notes, and start your journey to prosperity today. Remember, your business deserves to thrive. And with the Prosperity Playbook, it will. So it could be something like, why is my email inbox so full all the time, right? Why am I constantly feeling like I have to dig out of email? And there's lots of different reasons that that could be true. Okay. And the solutions that you would want to implement would be different based on what was causing your particular email inbox to be overloaded. Every now and then I reach a place where I'm like, why is my inbox so full again? Even though I think I've done good things to try to keep it under control. And almost every time it's because I have ended up subscribed to lists that are frequently emailing me things that I do not want to receive. I have no issue being on a list when somebody's providing valuable content, right? I look forward to some of those emails. Or a retailer who's sending me information about stuff that's on sale that's like a brand I shop regularly. Happy to get those. But we all end up on lists that we don't want to be on, right? So an example there might be like, oh, that's what it is. When I really take a look at what is going on with this inbox, it could be a lot of marketing email. It also could be that, oh, I used to have an auto sort that was functioning in my email inbox and it has somehow disconnected. It's not working now, right? So things are not being sorted into folders. They're all landing in my inbox. And that's the underlying issue. Lots and lots of different reasons could be at play that I don't have to get into all of them here, but you really want to examine what are the causes of the problem so you can kind of find the root cause. And once you think you have your arms around the root cause, like what really is happening here, then you want to explore potential solutions. So if you go back to the example in my office, we had to get clear that the root cause was that there was just not enough cold air coming out of that HVAC register to sufficiently cool the room. We weren't going to be able to blow air around enough to overcome that problem, right? And there are other things we could have done. I could have said, you know what? I'm going to move my office. I'm going to relocate to another room that's on a lower level. That would have been a different way of solving the same problem, right? But the root cause here, we said, all right, is there anything we can do to get more cold air out of that vent, which led us to finally execute the right search, which got us to the idea of a register booster. Okay. So really taking a second to say, what could some solutions be here? And then executing one of them, executing an improvement to see if it works. It's like running a little experiment. So expose the problem, right? We got to figure out what are the problems we have and stop ignoring them, which is sometimes the hardest part. Examine the causes of that problem. What do I think is really going on here? Explore solutions for the problem. What are some ways we could get at this? And then execute an improvement, execute some kind of improvement to see if it works. At that point, we've run an experiment and we can read the results of the experiment to say, was that enough or do we need to try something else? Now, I don't want us to get stuck in relatively small examples like email inboxes or the temperature in our office, because this same process can apply to bigger things that you are tolerating at home or at work. Recently, we looked as a team at our onboarding process for new clients, and we had over time kind of annexed and added things into this onboarding process where it had just become unwieldy. It was taking a long time for our coaches to execute. It was confusing for the clients who were coming in. It required them to take a lot of steps independently that felt like we were creating a burden for them, right? When they were brand new and we wanted to take great care of them. And so we sat as a team and kind of pulled apart that process to say, what really are the root causes of this process being so messy and difficult and, incomplete for the client. And one of the things that we kind of learned was we were asking them to do a lot of steps independently, and we weren't giving them all the steps at once, right? So the first thing we tried doing was, okay, let's just give them all the steps at once. We'll make a checklist and say, here's all the steps to execute. And that got us partway there. I mean, we definitely got better results by kind of creating a one-stop checklist to go through, but it didn't get us as far as I wanted to go. So we went back and looked at the process again, right? Second experiment, and said, what if we took control of this process? What if we said, we're not even going to give you a checklist, we're going to schedule a meeting. And in that meeting, we are going to execute those steps with you, right? We're going to share screens and we're just going to get you connected to systems and we're going to verify that everything is working. So if anything goes wrong, we can solve the problem right there on the spot. And the new client feels very supported. That was the goal, was don't create stress for a brand new client about technology of all things, right? Or about how our systems work. We know how they work, but let's make sure that they're properly connected in kind of one fell swoop. And we've executed this fairly recently, but I would say the early data looks pretty good. I mean, we've reduced the amount of time it takes. We're accelerating the speed with which they end up in a coaching cadence because they've gotten through all this onboarding stuff. And I think that the stress level for the clients is a lot lower. So that's a great example from a workplace of, okay, we have to identify that we've come to tolerate this process. And now we're reaching a point where we're like, it's time to go after this one. This is one that we can do better at. And then taking those in sequence is something that we can do over time. So again, today is kind of your invitation to look at where in your life might you be tolerating something that actually could be improved. You just haven't paused long enough yet to really ask, is there a problem here? Is there something that could be better, right? Exposing the problem, that you haven't had the time yet to examine really the causes of that problem, to understand why isn't it working, and to explore potential solutions. And once you do that and you're able to explore potential options and pick one and you execute that experiment, it might be that the very first thing you try works, and it might be that you need a couple of rounds before you get to results that you're really happy with. I mean, in the examples I gave you, none of it was particularly hard or time-consuming or expensive. It just required us to stop tolerating the annoyance and commit to finding a better way. So that's my challenge for you today, to go find one of your own, try this process out, and see if you can find your way to a better result. All right. If you are new to the Brilliant Balance podcast, and this is an earlier episode for you and you haven't yet subscribed, I would love for you to follow the show wherever it is that you listen to podcasts, and to subscribe so that you never miss an episode. It is so valuable when you do that. And we know we can make our way straight to your podcast queue each and every week. And also take a second to come and find the Brilliant Balance community in Facebook. If you are a Facebook user, our group is active but not annoying, is how I always describe it. There is a really healthy, positive community of women who are sharing ideas with each other inside of that Facebook group community. And if that is a place that you would like to join us, you are welcome to do that. You can also follow along on Instagram. I'm at cskolnicki on Instagram, and we try to share the content from the podcast and other content throughout the week. So would love to have you following along there. All right, that is all for today, my friends. Till next time, let's be brilliant.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.